switched from social work to recruiting by getting laid off. Would not recommend that path, but I think if I was never laid off, I never would have actually made the switch or had the courage to look for jobs in other fields. I did not know anybody in recruiting, and I also didn't know anybody at my current company. Actually, a recruiter for the organization I now work for found my resume on Indeed and reached out to me. Before that, I worked on editing my resume to highlight my experience as a social worker, but make my resume feel less clinical and more transferable. So I highlighted a lot of those communication skills, a lot of those interpersonal skills, leadership, that kind of stuff. But then I also had a section about content creation on my resume as well, and that is actually what caught the eye of the recruiter, funny enough. However, I really feel that it was my experience in social work that really landed me the job once I got to the interview stage. You hit the nail on the head. There are a ton of transferable skills between social work and recruiting. For recruiting, you need interviewing skills. No matter what you're doing in social work, you're doing some type of intake, some type of interviewing, usually in a lot more high stress, sensitive situations. So I felt very confident speaking to those skills. Also, a lot of people in social work have caseloads. You don't really have like a caseload in recruiting, but you're juggling a lot of recruits at the same time. So being able to talk about time management, how I don't get overwhelmed whenever I have multiple cases, all that kind of stuff was very easily to make that link between that experience and the new role. Also, it's kind of the same thing, like weirdly. And I know social work is a broad spectrum. I worked in a lot of different roles under the title of a social worker. However, a lot of my roles involved linking people with certain opportunities, advocating for people, etc., etc. That's kind of what you're doing in recruiting. You are linking them with a job opportunity that could be a good fit for their goals. Sum it all up, I really think going from social work to recruiting makes a lot of sense. I think there are a ton of transferable skills. Focus less on listing your clinical skills on your resume and more about how those skills make you transferable to other roles.